Truth and Reconciliation Commission was submitted. His words came with a plea for Canadians to take that next step, to take the call to action. The head of the commission, Justice Murray Sinclair, opened the closing ceremony with a message for the boy who drummed in the participants. Thielen kicked Nosway, but his message was clearly meant to travel further.
I want you to sing loud and do that forever, my young friend, so that people will come to realize what could have always been because of you.
The commission took 6 years, heard more than 6,000 stories, and produced 94 calls to action. The Prime Minister repeated his commitment to make them happen. Well, the CBC's Connie Walker begins our coverage tonight. Connie.
Peter, it was an emotional day as the three commissioners tasked with documenting one of the darkest chapters in Canada's history presented their final report. The day began with a song to honor the thousands of survivors of Indian residential schools.
The story of the
Photo has traveled
school.
after hearing thousands of heart-wrenching testimonies from survivors and bearing witness to the lasting legacy of residential schools on families and communities. Today, Justice Murray Sinclair was nearly brought to tears when speaking about the impact of this work on his own family.
They have supported me in this work, but at great loss to the relationships we could have had, and which we will now try to recapture.
Emotion from many in the room. Justin Trudeau reiterated his promise to implement all 94 calls to action.
To design a national engagement strategy for developing and implementing a national reconciliation.
But he also signaled a new era in the relationship with Indigenous people
And Inuit peoples. Let me say it once again.
Here he is, Douche McGee. Anyway, so, this is a 5-year-old video, by the way. So, if you think about it, 5 years on, they've slightly raised awareness about the boiled water advisories. Still, all across Canada, there's no internet access in reses. Nobody addresses this in Indian reses. Like, there's low to no internet access and networking. So, that's a main resource that we're getting cut off from. That's including water, potable water. The other thing is the friggin' residential schools. They're picking and choosing the residential schools. Another thing that's an issue in our communities is that a lot of the chiefs and the higher ups are corrupt and they're misplacing spending. So they're 100% it makes sense why APTN and all the Aboriginal or a lot of the Native commissions are getting a lot of money, because they're kind of the perfect. They work the same way the Liberals work. The higher ups get all the money and they say, oh no, we're taking care of the community and we're doing what we can and everyone's getting taken care of. And then they fuck off on vacation for fucking 10 months. I would do the same thing too if I lived in squalor, if you lived on a res. Not these guys. These guys are actually doing a lot of stuff, a lot of good things, but that's what I mean. It's our people have to go out of our way. This is exactly what this guy said. He said, our people go out of our way to just get basic justice or acknowledgement for our struggles, and we have to take time away from our family and take time away that we want to spend with our families, being just normal and just enjoying life. But we can't, because we have to point out to people that, hey, we don't have a country to go back to. We don't have an area. The area that preserves our culture and our people is your fucking area. Is Canada. We're sharing it. But the only thing is that we also don't have another country to back up the rest of our heritage. This is our heritage. So you got to make room for us. That's the period. That's the period. You have to preserve or help preserve our culture, help preserve our people. We're here the longest. Sorry, just to put it simply. But I know there's other people and whatever. There's there could have been other explorers that came before, whatever, the Bering Straits, all that stuff before all that happened. But regardless, if we're doing the whole cultural preservation thing, like this is a Native and Inuit and, you know, Métis area, you know, mostly Native and Inuit. But yeah, it's weird how we're struggling to get a foothold, and all I hear is like everything but, you know, let's help the people in the reserves. The one thing I would love to see though is the reserves get internet, potable water. All reserves have internet and potable water. I don't care if it's basic internet, and phone services, internet, potable water, and then, you know, maybe, you know, some social services, maybe a university or two, you know, maybe a major industry on one of the reserves. But it's so difficult to establish that because there's so many different reserves, so many different tribes, ceded territories, unceded territories. Ugh, don't get me started. It's a wonder how the government even figures it out. And I don't understand how activists, I've seen so many activists, and there's so many of them are so full of shit and just looking for a buck, and they don't know how to go about it. And the system is very difficult to navigate. Anyway, it's just really sad. I see they're coming out with more truth and reconciliation things. Finally, I just want to add the other thing that they could really do and look into to help Native people out, aside from getting them internet, potable water, and access to education and social services on the reserve itself, is to look up the actual residential schools that were fucking clearly had abuse and children dying. And like my grandmother was in a res school. There's hundreds of people with hundreds of accounts of children being abused or dying or disappearing. And they're looking at the schools that aren't there. Anyway, it's another play on the fact that a lot of the chiefs are, you know, just taking the money and running, and they'll do anything. They'll say anything this lib government wants. However these guys will run off of money. And they won't tell you where the money's going or how the money's being used. Or they'll tell you, oh, it's being used for you. We're doing it for you. Don't worry. Don't you worry. We're doing our best. Look at our policies. Skim over our policies. Don't go deep into details, but skim over our policies and don't ask about the money. And we're doing this for you, and you're being taken care of. Okay. All right. But if you look into their policies and you look into their amendments and you try to look into where they're spending their money, you can't. You can't find out where none of the money is being accounted for, because it's all these dickheads going on vacation, and then they're doing the bare minimum and playing that off as, oh no, this is just skimming the surface of what we're doing. No, that's all they're doing is false promises under budgets that are being spent completely fucked up, completely wrong. Like, it's not, I know most organizations are accounting for everything, but like, I don't know, just liberal spending's insane. And like, it's been 6 years now, and I have a buddy up like in Barrie. It's like 3-4 hours away maybe, and he has no internet. He doesn't get a phone because it's not even worth it. Like, he has internet, but it's like the shittiest internet ever. And I could only imagine people out in like Moose Factory or out west, up north. Like, I have family out in Kamloops and stuff on the reses, and it's like, you know, it's ridiculous. You know, potable water is insane. There's reses with no potable water. You live in Canada, the biggest lakes and fresh water sources in the world, some of them. And you have people in your backyard that don't have potable water, and then the government's trying to play it off like, oh no, we're taking care of it. No. The other thing about the res schools, look up all the res schools. There's one res school in Hamilton about an hour and a half away. Mohawk Residential School. Kevin Annette's been trying to fucking look into that for a decade. And the Vatican and the church authorities have been stopping him. And he's the first one who took up ground penetrating radars 10 years ago. And we're just hearing about it now, and we're just making us think about it now. This is bullshit. Something's wrong with the system. There's a bunch of virtue signaling bullshitters out there that want money and for their fucking art galleries, and they want free housing and to defund the Canadian police. No, we don't need to not defund the Canadian police. We need to investigate the police that are surrounding the residential, the Indian reses, because that's where most of the police abuse in Canada has ever happened that I've ever heard of police abuse happening. In Toronto, it's fucking, every time I hear about it, it's well fucking deserved. It's people fucking blaka, Jane and Finch, fucking grat. Okay, you deserve to get shot by the cops. Don't act like gratata. Get a fucking job, contribute to society, and don't tell me you're a victim because the cops shot back at you. Like, what do you want? Everybody wants fucking free housing. It doesn't exist. That's not a thing. Period. I'm fucking Native. Get over it. There's real issues that need to be addressed, and nobody's addressing them. That's what's wrong with what's fucking society. And you have fucking people that are actually privileged, don't understand the fucking definition of the word privilege, and they're pissing their pants because, they're bored on a Saturday night and they don't have some fucking rally to go scream at. I don't know. It's ridiculous. Can we just be realistic for once and truthful and fully transparent? That's all we need is truth and transparency. 100% transparency, at least when it comes to finances. And then everything else will come out after that. But liberal government doesn't give that. Liberal government doesn't give out full. They have these virtue signaling fucking amendments and half promises that they don't deliver on. And, it's ridiculous. Like, cool, APTN's getting a lot of funding. Wow. This is like, what are you doing to help like the hundreds of reses and thousands of people? This is a survey done on they got 6,000 stories or 7,000 stories in the Truth and Reconciliation 6 years ago. My res alone has like 6,000 people on it. It's a small unseated res. And there's like hundreds of reses everywhere scattered across Canada. So do the math. You know what I mean? Like, they're picking and choosing their samples, and they're telling everybody that everything's okay, as they've done since the fucking dawn of time, since this whole treaties has ever, go wipe out the local beaver population and give us like thousands of pelts, and here's a spoon, here's a gun, right? We're taking care of the native people. It's okay. They're okay with it, right? The same fucking thing's going on. But now, on top of fighting the quote unquote colonial fucking system, now we have to fucking butt heads with fucking BLM and Asian Lives and fucking whoever else, fucking white people screaming at Métis people because they're too white, and I don't know. It's ridiculous. I've seen such ridiculous arguments and like such weird divisive insanity from people that are trying to help the same cause, and I don't know. It's a lot of divisiveness, and it's very bizarre. Anyway, I just had to address this because I'm native and I'm from a res, and from Manitoulin, I'm from Wikwemikong, and it's fucking weird out here. People are weird. Things are weird. There's been so many ceremonies that just don't seem legit, and that just everything is weird. Like, unless you talk to elders seem legit. My elders seem legit. I've seen a couple other elders from other reses at powwows and shit, and like they seem legit. But then when you go to these like community art, cultural art events, like these native sunrise ceremonies and shit, like a lot of it seems like hokey pokey, fucking like ridiculous. The ancestors and the squirrels, that the squirrels could travel for miles across the tree branches. And now, like, okay. I mean, that's close. They almost sound like elders, but they have this, like, really weird modeled, I don't know, like, watered downness to them. I don't know, maybe they're just trying to pass on the stories they were told, but I don't know, maybe you could do a better job. Seem less, cracky about it. And that's the other thing, is that these cultural events, it's always these really cracked out, and not necessarily native people. Like, it's mostly white people. These really, and they're they could be Métis, who knows, but I don't know. You're stuck in the middle of two tribes. I mean, that's kind of rough too, right? You're not fully native, you're not fully French or whatever, or European, so you're not accepted by either side. I could see it, but it's very weird. A lot of questions. Anyway, and the native celebration months and weeks, like what days, it's June, it's July, it's mixed with gay pride. I don't know. It's September, it's February. I don't know anymore. But anyway, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Recognize that one of the important